3 times in there it says, be strong and courageous. It really makes me wonder if Joshua had sort of like some confidence issues, or maybe was just a little nervous about, taking over the helm after Moses. What's up, cool people? My name's Matt. Welcome back to our Bible study. Alrighty. Starting off the book of Joshua. I am not going to, like I did with previous books of the Bible, try and give, a quick recap of everything that's happened in the Bible thus far, because we're getting to the point where that's quite a bit. But in any case, main context to be aware of is, the Israelites having left their slavery in Egypt, essentially being set free from that by God through Moses. They left there, got, 10 Commandments and such at Mount Sinai, then proceeded to Canaan, aka the Promised Land. Got there, were too scared to go in at first. Because of that, God sent them wandering around the wilderness for 40 years. But now that 40 years has passed, they've come back. They've already done a little bit of conquering east of the Jordan River. In fact, there are a couple of tribes already that have said that's where they want to stay. But they're also going to help the rest of the tribes of Israel conquer and settle on the other side of the Jordan River in the land of Canaan. And that's kind of what they're about to do. Moses just passed away, died, however you want to call that. And thus Joshua, the namesake of this book of the Bible, is now officially 100% unquestionably the leader of the Israelites. So, that's where things are. Time to start reading and see what happens. So here we go. Joshua, chapter 1. After the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua son of Nun, Moses' assistant. He said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land I am giving them. I promise you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set foot, you will be on land I have given you. From the Negev wilderness in the south to the Lebanon mountains in the north. From the Euphrates River in the east to the Mediterranean Sea in the west, including all the land of the Hittites. No one will be able to stand against you as long as you live, for I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you or abandon you. So, God giving Joshua some encouragement as, newly established leader of his people. And basically saying that, how he was with Moses, he will also be with Joshua. The promises that he made to Moses, he, in a way, also makes to Joshua. So really almost like assuring Joshua that it's pretty much just going to be an extension of how things were before with Moses, but now it's going to be with Joshua. And it's I'm wondering if the way that it lays out the boundaries, that's probably also to say, hey, this is pretty much where you all are going to settle. But I kind of wondered if it's okay, I know I'm saying wherever you set foot, you'll be on land I have given you, but, so we're clear, not necessarily everywhere you could possibly set your foot will be land that I have given you. If you go outside of this land that was promised to your ancestors, maybe that, won't so much be land that I've given you. Just so we're clear. I don't necessarily think that's God's mentality around that, but, the clarification certainly helps. It leaves it less ambiguous as to, whether it's where Joshua sets foot or the actual, geographical boundaries of the promised land that are actually, the main component of that promise. Mediterranean Sea has a footnote there. Hebrew just says the Great Sea, which is probably meant to be the Mediterranean anyway. It just might not have been called the Mediterranean Sea back then. And I mean, it's definitely larger than, say, the Red Sea, which is where they crossed over to leave Egypt in the first place. But anyway, yeah, so that's all that really said there in the footnote. Basically, same thing, different words. Okay. So then we move on to verse 6. Be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the right or to the left. Then you will be successful in everything you do. Study this book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. 3 times in there it says, be strong and courageous. I know I said this in a previous chapter, but it really makes me wonder if Joshua had sort of like some confidence issues, or maybe was just a little nervous about, taking over the helm after Moses. Because up to that point, he had just been Moses' assistant. He wasn't the one in charge of things. But still, more encouragement from God. But also basically telling him to, keep all of Moses' instructions in mind. All that stuff that we just spent probably the past couple of books of the Bible on, make sure you continue looking that over, learning it, and, committing it to memory. Because the promise I've made with you and with the broader people of Israel, from God's perspective, that only really holds up if you follow my commands as they're laid out here in this book of instruction. So, no other thoughts there, really. Moving on to verse 10. Joshua then commanded the officers of Israel, go through the camp and tell the people to get their provisions ready. In 3 days you will cross the Jordan River and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you. So it doesn't say outright that this is directly after the 30-day mourning period that was mentioned at the end of Deuteronomy, for the death of Moses. But you'd think it would at least be shortly thereafter, if not immediately. So then, roughly another 3 days from that is when they actually, make the trek across the Jordan River. But that hasn't happened quite yet. Verse 12. Then Joshua called together the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. He told them, "Remember what Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you. The Lord your God is giving you a place of rest. He has given you this land. Your wives, children, and livestock may remain here in the land Moses assigned to you on the east side of the Jordan River. But your strong warriors, fully armed, must lead the other tribes across the Jordan to help them conquer their territory. Stay with them until the Lord gives them rest, as he has given you rest, and until they too possess the land the Lord your God is giving them. Only then may you return and settle here on the east side of the Jordan River, in the land that Moses, the servant of the Lord, assigned to you." So, yeah. These, 2.5 tribes were the ones that kind of already settled in east of the Jordan River. The Israelites had already conquered some kingdoms, or at least defeated some kings. There might have been multiple within the same kingdom, kind of. The way that it was worded is a little bit unclear on that, or at least it seems a bit confusing to me, the way that some of that stuff was worded. But anyway, they won some battles, got some land, and because of the land seeming like a good place for the herds, livestock, basically all the animals that these tribes had, they asked Moses if they could just have that land as their portion. And Moses basically said yes, but only if your warriors from your tribes still continue with the rest of the people across the Jordan River to help all the rest, conquer and settle in the land that God has promised to them. Otherwise, if they didn't do that, they would essentially be forced to live on the west side of the Jordan River, where they didn't necessarily want to, and would probably essentially result in all the tribes getting smaller portions of land. So, anyway, Joshua is essentially just reminding those tribes of that agreement that they made with Moses. So, then in verse 16, they answered Joshua, "We will do whatever you command us, and we will go wherever you send us. We will obey you just as we obeyed Moses. And may the Lord your God be with you as he was with Moses. Anyone who rebels against your orders and does not obey your words and everything you command will be put to death. So be strong and courageous." Again, there's the phrase, strong and courageous. I wonder if there's something more to that I'm just not aware of. Maybe it kind of goes back to the original Hebrew and a different meaning of those words. But in any case, I digress. So, the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh essentially say, okay, yes, we remember this commitment, we agree, we're with you, we are at your service. And I don't, it's just the way that it's worded here, it's like, the Lord your God. I don't think it's meant to imply that, the Lord is not also the God of these tribesmen. You would think it would be worded our God, but I don't know. I don't think that that's how it's meant to be. I think it's more so just I don't know. Maybe it's just something with, like, the formalities of the way that they're speaking, or I don't know. Maybe there's some other detail in there that I'm not quite aware of. But again, I don't think that was meant to be saying that the Lord is not also the God of these tribes. In any case, it's definitely meant to be, you know, additional encouragement and, like, kind of almost wishing upon Joshua what God was trying to assure Joshua of at the beginning of the chapter, that essentially things would continue with Joshua as they were with Moses. So, yeah. Not really too much else to say about that. Bit on the short side, this chapter is, but, yeah. So, God gives encouragement to Joshua. They start getting ready to cross the Jordan River, and Joshua basically checks in on the tribe to have settled east of the Jordan to make sure that they're all in agreement to, you know, have their warriors cross to the other side and still help the rest of the tribes. But anyway, I suppose that does it for Joshua chapter 1. Okay, confession time. Yes, I realize the lighting is very different in the room. Yes, I'm recording the intro and outro at a different time than I actually did the initial video. It's just kind of how things run. It's a little difficult to do the intro, outro bits, or at least awkward to do those in the midst of a live stream. So that's kind of why I do it this way. But anywho, yeah, so Joshua basically, with his first act as leader, once the people are done mourning over Moses, basically says, all right, chop chop, let's go. Time to cross the Jordan River and do this thing. I'll give you a few days to prepare, but like, we're getting at this now. So yeah, pretty strong start for Joshua here, leadership wise. But yeah, guess that's all the more thoughts that I have on that. So as always, like and share if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell if you're on YouTube to get updates when I post new videos. If you're seeing this over on Rumble, you can give me a follow there. Make sure you look down in the description to get info on other social media pages and how to find and follow those. And leave comments down below there with any thoughts you have. So that's going to do it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you for the next video. But until then, stay cool, people.